What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through the most comprehensive NBA player prop preview you are likely to see. We've got a two-game slate ahead: Cavs, Celtics, Mavericks, Thunder. Now, if it's your first time checking out the channel, I'll let you know I do this every single day. We go through all the key players. We talk about their matchups, the form lines. I tell you what I like. I tell you what I don't. And I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, yesterday, another winning day on the books. 2 from 2 on straight bets. Let's hit those first. We had Ben Shepherd, PRA, covered in the second quarter. We took Isaiah Hartenstein to cover his points prop, and he cashed that somewhat easily. The only loss of the day was a parlay, which I was mucking around with, and it sucked. Jalen Brunson under 2.5 3-pointers. Tyrese Halliburton under 2.5 3-pointers. Together, I think they made 10. So either they watch my YouTube shorts and draw inspiration from it, or I might be the worst bettor alive. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we've got a winning day nonetheless, and I'm here to hopefully deliver another. So we'll go through all these key player props. I'll take a list of all the leans that I come up with. I'll post it in the pinned comment below if you guys choose to tell. Now, if you're interested in finding my picks, I'm mucking around with something a little bit different to make sure that you guys get it. I know a lot of you guys tend to wait for those picks to come out. Check the link down low. It's called Winnable, winnable.com/Daft. That's my personal page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post all my picks there. At least that way, if you sign up to Winnable, that's completely free, by the way. None of this I'm charging for. But at least that way, the minute my bets are done and I send those out, you'll be notified by a text message or an email, whatever your preference is. You'll be told what I bet on when I bet on them. That's a lot better than waiting around and double checking YouTube the whole time. So hopefully that makes it a lot easier for you. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go. So we're kicking it off with the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Boston Celtics. The Celtics absolutely dominant in that first game. The line in this game is 13.5 points. Boston, obvious favorites. Total points line, we're looking at 212 at the time of this recording. So let's jump into it. I've already got my filters preset. The only thing I've changed are these odds to minus 150. That should be the worst odds that we see on the screen. Outlier is going to filter these out by which have the best hit rates. Now let's jump into it. We're starting with Drew Holiday here. So we'll get through all of these Celtics. Then we'll work on the Cavs. But we'll start with the home team first. Now, Outlier is letting us know that Drew Holiday has gone under 17.5 points plus assists in 10 consecutive games. That first game, 14 points and 2 assists. If we look at the head-to-head matchup, he's actually gone under in 3 out of his last 4 games against Cleveland. So the hit rate on this is amazing. Haven't looked into the matchups or anything like that. Looking at the season data, we know Cleveland, 9th fewest points, 6th fewest assists allowed. So, look, based on a real casual take, I don't think it's such a bad play. I'm going to add it to my list of leans real quick. I obviously do a deeper dive into these to figure out whether we're going to take them or not. But at first glance, it doesn't look like such a bad play. I want to have a quick look at the injuries to see what's cooking. Kristaps still out, and Jarrett Allen, game time decision. Those ribs are still absolutely busted up. So let's talk about Drew Holiday. His points prop, 12.5. He's only cashed in 1 of his last 10 games. The one game he did cash it in was that last game against Cleveland, where he scored 14 points. In head-to-head matchups, he's cashed this in 2 out of his last 4, averaging 13 per game. So that line seems about right on. But let's look at that last game a little bit closely. About 36 minutes played, 14 shot attempts, which is the most he's taken in the 4 games against Cleveland. Looking at his last 10, that last game where he took 14 shots, the most he's taken in the 10 games he's played so far. 3-point attempts, he was 2 from 7, so a lot of 3-point attempts for him, and he doesn't get to the free throw lunch at all. Now, 14 shot attempts seems like a lot for Drew Holiday. Looking at the season data, he averaged 9.9 shot attempts per game on the season. So these 14 attempts, you could call it somewhat of an outlier. Do we expect him to take 14 attempts again? Probably not. We might want to check the numbers out without Kristaps Porzingis, because no Porzingis could mean more shots for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, say it ain't so. He's played 22 games without Kristaps Porzingis this year. He averages 10.7 attempts per game with Kristaps out of the lineup. So the 14, somewhat of an outlier. So I wouldn't feel confident in taking his points prop. I'd probably lean to the under on that. Now, I want to check his assist prop, and if the assist numbers are checking out, that points plus assist play could be the wave. Now, looking at his assists, he only had 2 assists in that last game. He only had 2 potential assists in that game, and it makes sense if he's shooting the ball a lot more. Does average 7.3 potential assists over his last 10. In head-to-head matchups against Cleveland, he's only covered his assist prop once out of games. Against Cleveland, 5.5 potential assists so far in 4 games against them in this current season. So, yeah, this is another play where I'd probably lean to the under. So that points plus assists might be able to get around that. 17.5. I think it might be tight, but the hit rate is great. There could be a blowout factor on the season. This is cashed at a 43% rate. I just want to check to see what it's like without Kristaps. No Porzingis. He actually goes over this 55% of the time. So that's what I'd be a little bit hesitant on. His last 10 games without Kristaps Porzingis, 5 out of his last 10. So yeah, now I don't necessarily love it because the data's not huge. No Kristaps, obviously a big impact to Drew Holiday, does open up his scoring a little bit more. But the under in his assists could be a play. If we just break down his assists without Kristaps, what do we see? 6 out of his last 10, 45% on the year. You know what? Maybe these lines are probably accurate. I'm not loving Drew Holiday too much. Let's check his boards real quick. 5.5 is the line. He's cashed this in 5 of his last 10. 3 straight games over 5.5 boards. Against Cleveland, he's only covered this once. That just happened to be the last game where he got 6 boards. 1 from 4. He had 8 rebound chances. Managed to get 6 rebounds, which is pretty wild. Without Kristaps, he's cashed in 3 straight, 4 of his last 10, 45 in the season. So, yeah, his numbers don't change too much with or without Kristaps Porzingis, to be honest. But I'll look into the points and assists a little bit more after I'm done recording this. Next up, we got Jason Tatum. So, the single bet that I took the last time Jason Tatum was playing was the over in boards, which cashed. His points I was a little bit hesitant on, and I ended up taking an alternate 25, and it blew up in my face. But Jason Tatum, line at 36.5. He's gone under his points plus rebound line in 10 consecutive games. Against Cleveland, though, he had been covering this quite well. He'd only hit the under twice out of 7 games. What he has done consistently is rebound. 6 consecutive games against his rebound line. Points, a little bit up and down. We'll start with the points. 27.5 is the line. Under in 4 straight against Cleveland. And he's only hit this line in 9 out of his last 10. So those points aren't coming for Jason Tatum. He's not on my ban list, but I'm not going to bet his points. I honestly can't help but lean to the under, I would say. 35 minutes, 7 for 19. The field goal percentage is terrible, and he was 0 from 5 from 3. So I think with Jason Tatum, there is a risk of a bounce back game, so I probably wouldn't take the under if I had to. That's the way that I would be leaning. The obvious play that I like is his rebound prop. So I took this last time close to plus money. The line's still at 9.5, and it's minus 119. So he's cashed this in 4 straight games so far in this playoffs. And in head-to-head, I just called it out earlier, 6 out of his last 7 games above this. He had 15 rebound chances in that last game, which is not overly high. But at the same time, he only played 35 minutes as well. So there could be another blowout where the Cavs miss a lot of shots and Tatum can get more rebounds. There's also the side where Cleveland do keep it a bit more competitive and Tatum plays close to 40 minutes and ultimately gets more rebound chances anyway. So the line at 9.5, still something I can muck around with. And it's going to be something I'll have to do some line shopping for to get the best odds possible. But Tatum to get 9.5 boards, I don't think that's such a bad play. Looking at his assists, that line is at 5.5. He has cashed this in 4 of his last 10. He's gone under in 3 straight. In head-to-head matchups, he's gone under in 4 consecutive games. He did have 5 assists in the last one. Having a look a bit deeper, he did have 10 potential assists as well. So easily could have covered this 6. Had some players made some shots, but looking at his last 10, he's averaging 9.2 potential assists. So another 10 could come, I would say. But yeah, I wouldn't bet Jason Tatum's assists with any confidence, either over or under. But the rebound prop, I think that's something I can get around. We then have Al Horford. Now, his most likely prop here is points plus assists under 12.5. Now, he's cashed this in 9 consecutive games. He's gone under 12.5 points plus assists in 9 consecutive games. Against Cleveland, he's gone under in 4 consecutive games. All 4 of those games were this year, which is pretty crazy. Now, the difference here is that there's no Porzingis. And if we remove Porzingis from the equation, Al Horford has only covered the under 4 out of his last 10, which is not great. And he's only covered this in 1 of 4 games, under this in 1 of 4 games without Porzingis. And that game just happened to be the last one. So there's a lot happening here. If you don't fuck around with filters the right way, you're going to get burnt. So Al Horford unders, I'm not feeling it. Points, lines at 9.5. Let's get straight into the Porzingis shit. That's all that matters. So he's covered this in 6 of his last 10 games without Kristaps. And when he's played Cleveland in the past with no Kristaps Porzingis, he's covered in 3 out of his last 4. The challenge that I see with this is Al Horford is older than me. So damn, he old as shit. That's a lie. He might not be older than me now I think about it. Al Horford, date of birth. Al Horford was born on the 3rd of June, 1986. So, yeah, Al Horford is older than me. That man be old as shit. So, comparing his numbers to last year to this year, I wouldn't feel overly confident on. In 21 games without Porzingis, Al Horford has covered this line in 52% of them. So this line feels just about right, so I can't really see if we have an edge here. Looking at his assists, though, 3.5 is the line. He had 4 assists in that last game against Cleveland. Filtering without Porzingis, he's covered this in 5 of his last 10 without Kristaps and in 2 of his last 4. So he did go over in that last game with 4 assists, only 27 minutes because of the blowout, but he only had 5 potential assists. So, yeah, I'm not down with Al for that either. Looking at his rebounds line, 7.5. He had 8 boards in that last game, 4 of his last 7 against Cleveland without Kristaps in 3 straight games against Cleveland. And in his last 10 games without Kristaps Porzingis, he's only covered this 4 times. So, yeah, I probably lean to the over here for Al Horford, but not leaning far enough to take it onto my short list. So we'll have to pass on him. Who else do we have? Derek White had a pretty strong game. So outliers calling out his rebounds plus assists. Under 8.5 has hit in 9 of his last 10 games. That's pretty wild. And if we look at the head-to-head data against Cleveland, he's cashed under 9.5 rebounds plus assists in 6 of his last 8 games against them. So that all points us in the right direction. Now, if we look at, I don't believe Porzingis would have any impacts on Derek White, to be honest. So we'll leave the filter on anyway. Let's do a quick breakdown here. He had 5 assists in that last game on 7 potential assists. So the potential assists are not very high. That 5 assists, I don't think he could repeat that. Rebound chances, he only had 2 rebound chances and 1 rebound. So the rebound chances are low. The potential assists aren't very high either. So he had 7 potential rebounds and assists, and he managed to finish on 6. So, yeah, if he's going to get that, like he played less minutes, I get that, 32. But even with some extra minutes, those chances are hella low. Yeah, I can't help but look at the under 2. I think that's not a bad play. Derelict White. Let's do a breakdown of his individual props now, shall we? So his points line, 17.5. That last game where he scored 25, for first time in 7 games that he's covered this line against Cleveland. Looking at his last 10, he's had a monster 3 games. What did he do in that last game? 16 shots. He made 9 of them, 7 from 12 from deep, and he didn't even take any free throws. So, yeah, look, he had a massive game. The volume is high and the shot percentage is high as well. So there's, I hate to say it, but there should be some regression. But I also think that the Cleveland Cavaliers would want to slow down Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum before they even think about my lookalike Derek White over here. So the point side of things, I think there's still an opportunity for him to go over. I'm not saying that he's going to get the same number of shots, 16 shots, but we've seen him go over with less. But yeah, Derek White in the playoffs has been somewhat aggressive too. This could be the new him. So 3 games straight. I'm just a little bit hesitant, I don't know. Rebounds, 4.5 rebounds is the line. He only had 1 board in the last one. He averages 7 rebound chances, but that last game against Cleveland, he got Newton. And looking at the head-to-head numbers, he has cashed this in 2 out of his last 8 against Cleveland. So, yeah, not screaming out to me there. Let's have a look. Oh, we looked at his assist prop already. So, yeah, I think the under in his rebounds and assists, that could be a play that I take. Let's talk about Jaylen Brown for a second. Jaylen Brown, this is saying his first quarter assists. He only needs 1, minus 25, 8 out of his last 10. I'm probably more interested in his first quarter points. So his cash is only 4 of his last 10, but had 15 points in the first quarter in that last game. But I know that Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis, they're the ones who tend to go off in the first quarter for the Celtics. And with no Porzingis in the lineup, I did have a feeling that Jaylen Brown was going to have a strong first quarter, which he did. Now, the line is at 6.5. It hasn't moved from that last game, despite scoring 50 points. He averages 8.8 minutes in the first quarter. And against Cleveland, he has cashed this in 3 out of his last 5 games. So, yeah, I'll look into it again to see what the volume looks like. I could forgive him for going under in the first quarter, provided the volume is there. Meaning, if he's going to score 7+ points, I better see 6 to 7 shot attempts from Jaylen Brown. So we'll see. But let's get into his points prop. 25.5 is what we're dealing with today. He has cashed this in 3 of his last 10 games. Last game against Cleveland, he did have 32. And then in head-to-head matchups, he's cashed in 4 out of his last 8 against Cleveland. Now, if we remove Kristaps, I have a feeling a lot of it's going to look good, and it is. So without Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown has cashed this line in 4 or 5 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers, averaging 28 points a game. His last 10 games without Kristaps, he's averaging 24 points per game, and he's covered in 5 out of his last 10. If we break down that last game, he only took 18 shots, played 33 minutes, 18 shots, 67% from the field, 4 from 6 from 3, and 100% from the line. So a very efficient game from Jaylen Brown, which I wouldn't expect to see. He normally shoots 49% from the field and 32% from deep. So if we're looking at 49%, he'd probably make 3 less shots in this game, which is about 6 lower. So you're looking at about 26 points, and his line is at 25.5. So that's only if he took the same amount of shots. Without Kristaps Porzingis on the season, Jaylen Brown averages 25.3, takes 19.2 shots per game. Did only take 18, so we might get 1 to 2 extra shots. He might make 1. So my hood mathematics puts Jaylen Brown on pace for about 28 points. So I don't mind this for Jaylen Brown. And if I do happen to take the bet on Jaylen Brown, it's not because he had a good game in the last game. It's got nothing to do with it. But let's jump into his props. Rebound, 6.5 to the line for Jaylen Brown. In head-to-head matchups, he's gone under in 4 straight against Cleveland, covering in 3 of his last 8. In his last 10 games, he's covered in 5 of his last 10. If we take a look without Kristaps, Jaylen Brown, only 2 of his last 10, but 3 of his last 5 against the Cavs. So, yeah, I don't have a strong read on the rebounds there. Assists, my lord. So here, his line's at 2.5. He had covered this in 7 straight games against Cleveland up until that last game where he only had 2 assists. He did have 7 potential assists, and he's hit this line with 7 assists, potential assists, and even lower. Looking at his last 10, he's only covered this in 4 of his last 10. So the assist play, I'm not really feeling that one either. But first quarter total points, for Jaylen Brown. That could be a look right there. And then we get to these bench guys, and we'll have a look at all 3 of these white dudes because they all get a little bit of runtime. So for Sam Hauser, filtering by his last 5, let's just look at his points prop. 5.5 is the line that we're checking out here. 5.5 points for Sam Hauser. 2 of his last 5, 3 of his last 8 against Cleveland. There is potential for a blowout, so he could get more game time. He only took 1 shot in that last one. We also have Luke Cornett. Now, I know his rebound numbers were pretty good in that last one. So let's check this guy out. Points, 4.5. He only had 4 points in the last game despite playing 21 minutes. He only attempted 3 shots, was 1 for 3. Got to the line twice, made them both. His assist prop, 1.5 at plus money. Had 2 assists in that last game, only 2 potential assists, so I'm not playing with that. And rebounds, lines at 5.5. He had 10 rebounds in that last game. He's covered in 3 out of his last 5. He had 20 rebound chances, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah, Luke Cornett rebounds. Could we have a look at that? Maybe if I look at the season, check out games where he plays at least, let's go to 18 minutes. Just in place, he gets a little bit less. So when Luke Cornett plays at least 18 minutes this year, he's covered this line at 64%, 16 out of 25 games. The magic number that he seems to fall on when he goes under is 5. So the 5 boards for him has cashed a lot. If I muck around and put this on 4.5, check that out. 22 out of 25 games, 88% as a hit rate. Luke Cornett has covered 4.5 rebounds, but the 5.5 where the line is set, 64%. But his rebound chances, he had 20 rebound chances, which is the most rebound chances he's had in a game all season, which is pretty crazy. That Cavaliers offense sucked. It was only Donovan Mitchell. So I guess the question is, Does Boston blow them out? And if they do, they'd be winning by a lot, which means my man Cornette probably has more rebound. Probably not 20, but 15 to 20 would be nice. Checking the rebound chances here to see what he finished on. A lot of it, actually, he gets close to 20 rebound chances every time he plays this number of minutes. So, yeah, Luke Cornett rebounds could be a good play at plus money, but that's only if you're backing Boston to continue to blow the lights out on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'll put that down as a lean. We shall check that out. And then lastly, we've got Peyton Pritchard. Now, for Peyton Pritchard, I think PRA probably the best look because you don't know whether he's going to score a lot or get a lot of assists. So let's look at his points line: 7.5. He had 16 points in that last game against Cleveland. Prior to that, that was the most. He had never covered this line before, but he did play 24 minutes. So if we filter out his season where he plays at least 24 minutes, let's go between 22 and 28. So not your starter minutes. So he's covered this line at 62%, 18 of 29 games. If we look at his assist prop, he's 2.5. The 5th of 88 games so far this year. If we say he gets between 22 and 28 minutes, Peyton Pritchard's covered in 22 or 29 games. Now, if we look at points plus assists, you're looking at 10.5. He's hit this at 51% this season. Same filters, 22 minutes, under 28 minutes. Far out. Let me do that again. Here we go. So 76% hit rate, points plus assists for Peyton Pritchard. That could be the wave. And that's obviously if you think there's going to be a blowout and he's going to get his minutes. But when I was checking the rotations, Peyton Pritchard's not necessarily garbage time only. He does get a bit of run throughout the game. So, yeah, I don't hate the play here for Peyton Pritchard. He's actually cashed this quite well against Cleveland when he plays this a number of minutes. 18. Actually, what am I talking about? That was the very last game. So against Cleveland, he hasn't been crushing this line very well, but it's all been dependent on minutes. This was the first game where he's played 20-plus minutes against them. So, yeah, Peyton Pritchard could be a good look. All right, let's jump into these Cavaliers real quick. Let's start with Donovan Mitchell. Outliers telling me that the first quarter points props have been banging lately. Let's go. So the line's at 7.5. He's cashed in 4 out of his last 5, had 14 points in the first quarter of the last game. In head-to-head matches, he's covered this in 4 straight games against the Boston Celtics in the first quarter. Do the Boston Celtics make an adjustment here? Well, they had the chance to make the adjustment already because he'd been scorching these fools prior to this game, and Donovan Mitchell continued to operate in this manner. So, yeah, the first quarter points I'll look into for sure. The hit rate is nice. His total points line is at 29.5. So this has gone up by 2 points. He's cashed this in 5 of his last 7 against Boston. And looking at his last 10, he's covered this in 5 of his last 10. Diving a little bit deeper into that last game, played 37 minutes, took 25 shots, shot 48% from the field, 4 from 11 from downtown, and he made 5 free throws as well. I would honestly lean to the over on this one for Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if I'm willing to take it again, just in case there is some sort of adjustment. He opened up the Orlando game covering his line, and then he went on this cold streak from there. So I'm a little bit hesitant on taking it, not going to lie. But the first quarter one, I could look into that. We just need 4 buckets. His assist line is at 4.5. He had 5 assists in the last game, 6 of his last 10, and he's covered in 4 of 7 against Boston. He did have 12 potential assists, finishing on 5. So, yeah, I feel like his assist line is about right, but at minus 132, I'm not interested in playing that. And then we go to his rebounds line. So he's covered this in 4 straight games against Boston, 5.5 boards. I think his line was at 4.5 last time, but now we're getting plus money at the 5.5. If we look at his last 5 games, he's cashed this in 3 of the last 5. He had 13 rebound chances in that last game. So this season, he averages 5.1 rebounds and 8.6 rebound chances. So what we're seeing here, no Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell's rebound chances are a lot higher, 12, 11, 17, and 13. So I think if Jarrett Allen is not good to go, then the over on his rebounds could be a good look. I think Jarrett Allen's unexpected to play, even though he's questionable. But yeah, I'd look at Donovan Mitchell's rebounds if we know Jarrett Allen is not playing. We then have Darius Garland, first quarter assists. All right, Garland, first quarter assists. He's cashed this in 4 of his last 5, had 2 assists in the first quarter of that last game, playing about 9 minutes on average in the first quarter. In head-to-head games against Boston, 5 out of his last 7, he's gone over 9 minutes on average. Look, it's a plus money play here for Darius Garland. You know how I get aroused by that. First quarter props can be a little bit painful, but it could correlate well with the Donovan Mitchell one. Who knows? But I'll look into that a little bit further. Let's look at his points line, 15.5. So he's cashed this in 6 or 7 games against Boston. Had a bit of luck. Only 14 points in that last game, though. He shot 6 from 15, so the volume is nice, but 40% from the field is not. He was 2 from 8 from downtown, and he didn't get to the free throw line. So I think there's a bit of upside here for Darius Garland. If you only need him to make one more bucket or a couple more threes or a couple free throws to cover this line, I don't necessarily hate this. I don't mind it at all. Looking at his last 10, what's he done? 4 out of his last 10. He's gone under this in 2 straight games, though. So the recent form's a little bit patchy. The volume's been up the last 4 games since he had the breakout game against Orlando. The volume has been there. Percentage hasn't been great over his last 2, though. But Donovan Mitchell needs all the help that he can get. So Darius Garland points could be an option. He got very close to it last time, and he didn't play well. So we're basically just betting on him to play a little bit better. His assist prop at 5.5. He's gone under in 4 straight. He's hit in 4 of his last 10, but he's covered this in 5 of 7 games against Boston. That last game, he only had 10 potential assists, the lowest he's had against Boston in 2 years. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 9.7 assists. So the potential assists, not great here for Darius Garland. You're getting plus money for this one, but based on those potentials, you need Cleveland to shoot very well, and I don't think they will. So his points prop, I can entertain that, but that's probably all I could. Next up, Evan Mobley. Now let's check Evan out. Outliers letting me know he's cashed his block line of 1.5 in 4 of his last 5 games. The only game he went under was against the Boston Celtics. Now, the reason for that, the Boston Celtics, they get blocked the fewest out of any team in the league. Only 3.7 blocks per game. They don't attack the rim all too much. They shoot a lot of 3-pointers, so that might be a difficult play. But looking at his points prop, 13.5 is the line. He had 17 points in that last game against Boston. No Kristaps Porzingis. He should have some sort of advantage. He's like a budget Bam at a buy at the moment, and Bam had a great game, a great series against Boston, scoring the ball. He's cashed this in 3 of his last 5, and in head-to-head matches, 4 of his last 6 against Boston. That last game, only 31.9 minutes, blowout loss. He did shoot the ball 12 times, made 8 of them, 67%. Didn't shoot any 3-pointers and only got to the line for 2 free throws, making 1 for 2. So in terms of volume, what do we think of that? 12 in the last game, averaging 10.3 in his last 10. On the season, he's sitting at 10.9. So the 12 shot attempts that he did take in that last game, pretty good based on his normal volume, but he usually shoots about 50% from the field, which means he would have, that's 2 less makes, which takes him down to 13 points. So 13.5, it feels just about right to me. So I don't want to play that based on his volume and field goal percentage. Looking at his rebounds, the line's at 10.5. He had 13 boards in that last game, 22 rebound chances. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered this in 3 out of his last 6. Let's get the filter out to see how he rebounds without Jared Allen. Played 1. That was the only game he's played Boston without Jared Allen. 22 rebound chances, which is crazy. He did get 5 offensive rebounds, 8 defensive rebounds. So the rebound line could be a good look if Jared Allen is not playing. So it's a big if. I'm actually going to Google Jared Allen because I keep having to filter shit out with him. And if all indications say that he's not going to, then we could stop fucking around with it. Questionable again. In-game report said that Jared Allen wasn't able to do much in recent practices. He's been having trouble sleeping because of the rib injury. He's showing signs of progress. He's missed 4 straight games, and he's questionable. So his current status doesn't provide much optimism. All right, so let's assume that he's not going to play. And if he's not going to play, then Evan Mobley to get over 10.5 rebounds, I think could be a good look. If he's going to get 20 rebound chances, we're a good shot here. Boston already blew these guys out in the first game. It can't get much worse than that, can it? If anything, Cleveland could get a little bit better. Mobley could get more minutes. The Celtics could miss a few more shots. And, yeah, Mobley could definitely get busy. So if he's just chasing Al Horford around, he's not working too hard defensively. So Evan Mobley, rebounds could be a good look. Didn't look at his assists. Let me check that out. 2.5's the line. He had 3 assists in that last game, 3 out of his last 5, 3 out of 6 against the Boston Celtics. He only had 4 potential assists in that last game. So we're not fucking around with Evan Mobley. Nah. We saw Karis LeVert get some more game time, but it was probably because of the blowout. In terms of props, we don't have many props available for Karis LeVert. So we're going to have to skip him. Then we have Max Strus. So Outliers calling out under 2.5 points in the first quarter for Strus. It's hit in 4 of his last 5, but 12 of his last 20. So that ain't great. Points for Max, 9.5 is the line. He had 5 points in that last game. In head-to-head matchups against Boston, he's covered in 1 of 3. He gets a decent number of minutes. His shot attempts a little bit all over the place, and his shot percentage is terrible. So Boston do well not allowing a whole lot of three-pointers, especially from the corners. So Max points I'm not really willing to play with. Assist-wise, he had 0 assists in the last game, only 2 potential assists. So I don't love that. And then rebounds plays. What do we have? He had 2 boards in that last game, only 5 rebound chances. So I'm assuming here Max Strus, what was he doing? Chasing around Jaylen Brown or something like that? I'm just going to check the matchups real quick. Let's see who Max Strus was following, because I think the under in his rebounds and assists could be a good look. On the road as well, he's got pretty drastic numbers. Whilst I load that up, let's have a look at his rebounds plus assists. Oh, so the line's only at 6.5. He's gone under in 2 or 3 against Boston. In his last 10, he's only got under in 4 of his last 10. On the season, 72%. So even though, the under is a good look, but they've moved the line down to a point where, like, his season average is 8.6 rebounds and assists. This one is very sharp, and it's moved down to 6.5. So I don't think we could bet on Max Strus. No. So quick recap on what I've got so far, the leans in this game. I'll tidy this up and I'll send it to you. Drew Holiday points plus assists unders. Jason Tatum rebounds. Derek White under rebounds and assists. Jaylen Brown first quarter points. Jaylen Brown's total points. Luke Cornett rebounds off the bench. Peyton Pritchard points plus assists over. Donovan Mitchell in the first quarter, his points. Darius Garland, first quarter assists. Darius Garland, total points over. And Evan Mobley, rebounds over. So hopefully I can trim that down to 3 to 4 plays. We shall see. And then we can get it on. But we could have some BAPs happening, given the amount of plays that I don't mind. We could have a good look there. Pumping the brakes for you all real quick. Not going to heavily promote and plug anything. You guys already know the player prop shop has been very helpful for me. I guess the 2 things I want to make clear is, 1, the watch parties. Join Playback TV. I was on there today chopping it up. What I actually want to do is get you guys to join the stream with me, get on stage. So let's just talk instead of chatting the whole time. Get on that stage and talk with me. We can chat throughout the whole game. I reckon that'd be heaps of fun. So check that out. I'll be streaming again tomorrow, most likely for the Dallas game. I won't be home in time for the Cleveland game. The second announcement was you probably heard it at the top, but I'm going to remind you right now. If you want to see the bets that I'm betting on, jump into that winnable link down below. It's completely free. Doesn't cost you a damn thing. That'll take you to my my page, where I can share all of my picks. When I do submit my picks, you're going to get notified by email, text message, or whatever it is. And the other good thing about this setup is, if I do bet on anything that's not mentioned on YouTube, or if I bet on sports that aren't NBA, I know some of you guys are really interested in my MLB stuff, you can jump onto Winnable, sign up to my page, and then if I place a bet and I enter it through there, you're going to get notified every time. So you might be surprised with some MLB stuff if I bet on it. You'll get surprised with some NRL stuff if you're interested in that. I know that you have markets for the NRL, and that's my favorite sport to watch. So this weekend, I'll be putting some bets down, and whatever I decide on, I can share it with you guys through that. So click on that winnable link in the video description below. All of those links go a long way to helping me anyway, so suss them out. And also, if you want to do a coaching session, I've done quite a few of them already. They've been awesome, I got to say. I got the best followers in the world. Like, you guys have been excellent, extremely supportive, hungry to learn. You're very prepared for these. So I thank everybody who's already put their hand up and booked me in. But my schedule is still open for next week. Jump into Calendly, book yourself a session in, and let's talk about it. There's been a lot of conversations about EV betting, bankroll management, how to research, going through tools, props. and all that type of stuff. So if you guys are interested, click on that link. Now let's jump into the next game, shall we? Let's go. All right, so we're looking at the Dallas Mavericks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC ran away with it in the last game. They're 5-point favorites in this one. Total points, we're looking at 218.5. Outlier bringing up the hottest plays on the planet. The first thing that comes up is Kyrie Irving under 5.5 first quarter points. And if you'd been betting this for a while, be a very happy man. So Kyrie has gone under this in 5 straight. He's actually gone under this in 9 of his last 10. Yep. 9 out of his last 10 games, Kyrie's gone under 5.5 points in the first quarter. In his last 20 games, he's gone under 14 times. The hit rate on this is amazing in these playoffs. Check that out. Minus 106. Pretty juicy play. Looking at his points, though. Kyrie, 23.5 is the line. He's covered this in 2 out of 3 games against OKC. Now, I saw a lot of people betting Kyrie because of his previous numbers against OKC. Don't get me wrong, I bet on it too. But you need to understand that in a lot of these games against OKC, I don't believe Luka played in only one of them. So games without Luka, Kyrie scored 36 points. So Luka is in this lineup. So I'd be very cautious betting Kyrie. And if you are betting Kyrie, put Luka in. So now these are the 2 games against OKC with Luka in the lineup. He scored 25 and 20 points. Shot attempts 19 and 14 in the last one. So I'm not saying he can't do it. He can definitely go over this line, but don't be expecting 35 because he's done it before. No Luka in that game. Kyrie was the man. Last 10 games, 5 out of his last 10. Let me get rid of this Luka filter. His volume wasn't very high, only 14 shots. Efficient as always, 50% from the field, 75% from 3, 100% from the line, but he didn't get the shots up. So I think there's a little bit more room for Kyrie to be better in this. The 23.5, you need 2 extra buckets. So you really need to see at least 3 to 4 extra attempts from Kyrie. In his last 10, he's averaging 18 attempts per game. And looking at the volume here, hasn't necessarily had too many low volume nights in a row. So I think the over could be a good look. An alternate 20 for a BAP, for example, would be terrific. But the points prop, I don't mind that. So I've added that to my short list. Assists, the line's at 4.5. He's cashed in 4 of his last 10. 2 out of his last 3 against OKC. So he only had 3 assists in that game. We know that Luka didn't play in one of these games, which I believe is this 12 assist game for Kyrie. So, but he did have 8 assists in the past without Luka. With Luka in the lineup. Now, looking at his potential assists, this is where the concern is for me. He only had 7 potential assists in the last game. So it's not even that he was passing it and the players didn't make shots. He didn't create many shots for others at all. So 7 potential assists is pretty low. He's averaging 9 potential assists over his last 9 games. So I wouldn't bet the over for Kyrie assists is what I'm saying. Now, looking at his rebound line, that's at 4.5 as well. It's a plus money play. 6 out of his last 10 games he's cashed in. Only 1 rebound in that last one against OKC. In the past against OKC, he'd cashed in 1 of the 3 games. And looking at his rebound chances, 5 rebound chances in that last game, averaging 7.3 against OKC. In his 9.6 rebound chances, he's been averaging. So, yeah, I would probably lean to the under here for Kyrie rebounds. The odds for it, minus 119. It's not too bad. I'm not going to bet that, but I would definitely lean that way for sure based on rebound chances and volume alone. But whilst we're on Dallas, let's keep going. Let's talk about Luka Doncic. So under 3.5 3-pointers for him. That's cashed in 5 straight games. In head-to-head matchups, 3 of his last 5 against OKC. And in his last 10, he's gone under in 5 straight. So really, since that injury occurred, Luka's been slowed down, not shooting the ball very well, but very capable. And yeah, Jalen Brunson's form looked like this too, right? And he went crazy today. So I'm not willing to bet the under on Luka 3-pointers. I know what he's capable of. He'll take at least 10 of them, right? So, but his points line's an interesting one, 30.5. So Luka has cashed 5 of his last 10 games, scoring over 30 points. 19 points in that last game. Pretty poor for him. 40 minutes, 6 for 19 from the field, only 1 of 8 from downtown. Did get to the free throw line, but he didn't shoot very well from there either. So pretty poor game all around from Luka. I wouldn't bet the under, that's for sure. He definitely has some capability to bounce back. I probably lean to the over, but I don't know if I'm willing to bet it. Just knowing that he's injured, you'd probably just be betting it, hoping that he bounces back. And I ain't going down like that. But looking at his assist prop, 9.5, we're looking at 9 assists in that last game. And that's a really telling stat because the Dallas Mavericks shot the ball terribly. They only scored 95 points. Still, Luka was able to get 9.5 assists. So 5 out of his last 10, 2 out of his last 5. He's actually finished on 9 assists 2 games in a row against OKC. Looking at his potential assists, he did have 20 potential assists in that game, which is just wild. Looking at his last 10, there's been other games where he's had 20 potential assists. In those games, he's had 10, 13, and 9 assists. So the potential assists, pretty good. We'd like to see some more actual assists, right? But yeah, look, you're getting this for minus 142 as well. So that sucks. I'm not taking that. So I definitely think he'll go over 9.5 assists. But at those odds, the sports books think he will too. So I'm not willing to play that. This is his rebound prop, 8.5. 6 of his last 10, had only 6 boards against OKC in the last one. Prior to that, he had covered this in 3 or 4 games against them. He only had 14 rebound chances in that game, though. And at 14 rebound chances, he's not going to get 9. I would expect Dallas to be a little bit better in this game, which could lead to more rebound opportunities for Luka. So I'm not saying to bet the over, but the under, wouldn't do that either. So I guess that means I don't want to bet on Luka Doncic. Actually, one thing I didn't look at was his first quarter points prop. Here we go. 7.5. He's covered this in 4 straight games. Against OKC, he's covered this in 5 straight. This is a really telling number because a lot of the time it's at 8.5, and that 8.5 sucks. But 7.5 is something I can fuck with, right? So I don't mind that at plus money. Dallas usually gets Luka going first, which is why Kyrie is so slow in the first quarter because Luka does all the heavy lifting. So that might be something I can fuck around with. So I don't mind that. We got Dallas Gafford. Daniel Gafford. He had an excellent game. My friend Tips from T had an excellent same game multi on Daniel Gafford to have a big game, and he delivered. So he's 19.5 for a PRA. He's cashed the under in 4 of his last 5, but 28 points in that last one. That PRA trend can go fuck itself. Let's look at the points. 2 out of his last 5, 16 points in that last game. He's now had 3 big games against OKC. Check that out. 19, 19, and 16 points against them. All of these in the last 3 months. Minutes are pretty decent, 23 per game. He takes over 10 shots per game against the OKC Thunder, which is pretty wild. So barring he doesn't get into foul trouble, it's not a bad play. He only had 3 fouls in that last game. So I think Daniel Gafford, definitely someone who can go over his points line again. He played quite well. Chet doesn't have the size and strength. He's got the length. Doesn't have the size and strength to slow someone like Daniel Gafford down. Probably the most potent weapon down low. So, yeah, I don't mind that for Daniel Gafford. The volume's there. He's taking if he's going to take more than 10 shots, which he's done in 3 straight games against OKC, I reckon I could fuck around with that. So, yeah, I'll be looking into that. At 7.5. He had 11 rebounds in that last game, but I still can't help to think that that's a little bit high. But check this shit out. Against the OKC Thunder, he's covered it in 3 straight games. 9, 15, and 11 rebounds for Daniel Gafford. So, do we see a repeat? The OKC Thunder are not a good rebounding team. Daniel Gafford, could he be that guy again? He had 22 rebound chances in that last game, which is nuts. He could have got a lot more than 11 rebounds, to be honest with you. So I think the Daniel Gafford stuff could be interesting. Alternatively, we could look at points plus rebounds, just in case he over-delivers in one and not the other. I've seen games where he scores a lot of points and doesn't get a lot of rebounds. Let's actually have a look at that. Points plus rebounds. So in these head-to-head matchups, he's obviously covered in all 3. Looking at his last 10, what do we see? So if this game against Charlotte, 26 points, 7 rebounds. When under, it destroyed his points line. It actually doesn't cover his rebound line very well at all, as I look through it. 7.5. So he had in that last game. The last time he covered that was in this game here. The 6th of April against the Golden State Warriors. 10 points, 15 boards. So in that game, he went under his points, over his boards. This game against Utah, 13 points, 11, went over both. 24 and 7, 13 and 8, where he went over both. So I feel like if he's not going to hit his, I'm just having a look at the numbers here. I think points and rebounds is the better play because there's not too many games where he doesn't hit his points line, but he gets his rebound line. But points plus rebounds, sometimes those points can make up for the rebounds he doesn't get. So that's where my mind goes for DG, Daniel Gafford. Let's see which one I end up taking. All right. The rest of these guys are scrubs, and I don't know if I could consider them. Derek Jones Jr. is an interesting one. The only play I'd be looking at here is his under in rebounds. He's the main defender here on SGA. I had this as a lean last time. So his line was at 4.5. Had it as a lean. He finished on 2 rebounds in that last game against OKC. Rebound chances. So he's had 4 rebound chances in his last 2 games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. 4 rebound chances. He needs to get 4 boards in this. The under you're going to get for plus money. Now, I know it's not the hit rate's not great, 50% there, but he has gone under in 7 of his last 10. He's gone under in 14 of his last 20. Rebound chances, he averages 5.9. So the 4 rebound chances he got in that last game, I would say it's not an outlier because he's had 4 rebound chances many times before, but he'll be the man tasked with stopping SGA. So the under for Derek Jones Jr. on the board side of things, that could be a good look. It could be. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. Now, if we want to have a look at D Lively, let's have a look. So his PRA 12.5. 4 of his last 5 he's cashed. Last game against OKC, nada. 2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. So Derek Lively in that last game, he only had 13 minutes. So just the fact that his minutes so low, I wouldn't take any bets on Derek Lively because that will contradict any idea I have on Daniel Gafford. We do have Josh Green as well. Let's check out my man from Australia. 5.5 points is his line. He had 11 points in that last game against OKC, 3 of his last 5. He's covered in 3 of his last 5 against OKC. He played 25 minutes, shot the ball 9 times, 4 from 9, 3 from 8 from downtown. So Josh Green's taken 8 3-pointers. You know the Mavs were getting desperate. Rebounds, 2.5. This guy does play with a lot of energy. 4 rebounds in that last game, 6 rebound chances. One of them was an offensive rebound. Last 10, he's covered in 7 of his last 10. So if we just forecast him to get between 20 and 25 minutes, I wonder what he can get on the season. So he's played 20 to 25 minutes in 11 games this season. He's covered this rebound line in 8 of those games. 4 rebounds in that last game against OKC. You would expect Dallas to be a bit better, even if you think OKC wins. Surely Dallas closes the gap a little bit and potentially opens up more rebound chances here for Josh Green. The only other thing I want to check is the minute side of things. I don't know if 20 to 25 is an accurate prediction. So in his last 10 games, averaging 19.5 minutes per game, wasn't injured throughout this Clippers series. He just wasn't used all too much. But 25 minutes in that last game against OKC, how much of that was garbage time? So I'm going to get the popcorn machine, popcornmachine.net, and we're going to look at Josh Green when he entered the game and what minutes he played. Where are you at? All right, here's Josh Green. So almost 6 minutes in the first quarter, minutes in the second quarter, and then his second stint, another 5 minutes in the third. But then he got the garbage time minutes here, last 5 minutes of the game. And in those last 5 minutes of the game, he didn't get any rebounds. He just got 2 assists. So he was able to get all 4 of those rebounds in 19 minutes. So if this game is close and they don't choose to run the bench, he probably gets about 19 minutes. So let's fuck around with this thing right here. Now let's look at games where he gets 15 to 19 minutes. All right. So he's only cashed this line in 2 of 10 games where he gets 15 to 19 minutes. If I get rid of this 15, what does it show? All games playing no more than 19 minutes, 3 of his last 10. So, yeah, even though Josh Green did it in the first 19 minutes he played, I don't know if I could take that again. So that's an interesting look. We do have PJ Washington too. I forgot about him. Now, his points play could be a line here because he's their 3rd best scorer, believe it or not. He only scored 10 points in the last game, 1 of his last 5. He only played 25 minutes, 4 for 7, 2 from 3. So he shot the ball well, just didn't get the minutes. Did have 4 fouls, could have been some foul trouble, but yeah, PJ Washington didn't play too great. So now let's jump into the Oklahoma City Thunder and see what the hell's popping off over there. Let's start with SGA. So SGA had a great game. Well, he covered his points, rebounds, and assist line in that last game. Let's go with his points first. 29.5 is the line. He scored 29 points. In that game, 37 minutes, 19 shot attempts, 8 for 19, 11 of 13 free throws. So he got to the line a lot. So he's covered this in 4 of 8 games against Dallas. Looking at his last 10, he's only covered this in 2 of the last 10 games, though. Looking at his attempts, averaging 19 attempts per game. So the 19 he took is what he pretty much averages. He did make 2 3-pointers. He only averages 1 in this 10-game span. So over delivery on the 3-pointers. And he made 11 free throws. Over his last 10 games, he's only averaging 7.4 free throws made. There were a lot of comments made after that last game on the refereeing. Kyrie said it felt like a regular season game. They were blowing that whistle a lot, whereas throughout that Clippers series, it was physical and the refs let them play. In this game in OKC, it did not happen. So SGA for his points line, I'm honestly thinking the under here because he took as much shots as he normally takes, 19 shots. He shot 42% from the field, which is close to what he normally would. I think the free throws, for him to make 11, that's a bit of an anomaly. I wouldn't project him to make that many free throws. And I also wouldn't expect him to shoot 2 from 4 from downtown either. So, yeah, I can't help but lean to the under. If we look at the games this season, he's played them 5 times now. He's only covered this line once. In that game, what did he do? 16 shot attempts, 12 free throws, and 1 3-pointer. So it's really the free throws that are going to take him over here. High volume free throw attempts. Now, there has been games where he hasn't had the free throws and he has struggled. So, yeah, I feel like after the comments made about refereeing, I think they go back to letting him play a little bit. And the under for SGA could be on. It's not a brave play. It's a crazy play. But I'm willing to risk it all to look like a genius. I'll most likely end up looking like a dickhead, but, you don't have to worry about that. That's my appearance. Now, looking at his assists, his line's at 6.5. He had 9 assists in the last game. He's covered in 3 of his last 8. In his last 10 games, he's only hit this line 2 times. Looking at his potential assists, 13 potential assists, and he got 9. 12.4 potential assists on average against the Dallas Mavericks. He averages 6.3 assists. So the ratio is pretty strong, to believe it or not. The question is 13 potential assists he's got many times before. This game, 13 potential assists finishing on 8. 13 potential assists finishing on 8. 14 finishing on 8. 15 finishing on 7. And then 13 finishing on 5. So, yeah, if he's going to get 13 potential assists, you'd probably lean to the over. But, yeah, I'm not overly confident in that or the under. He's 40. 10 out of his cashed in and 4 of his last 8 against Dallas. 9 rebounds against Dallas. He had 15 rebound chances. I don't think the rebound chances will get there. I don't think Dallas shoots that poorly 2 games in a row. SGA should get slightly more minutes, though. But, yeah, 15 rebound chances, 9 boards. I think that's really an over-delivery and what you could expect from him. I'm not saying to bet the under, but, yeah, over 5.5 at minus 140. I don't think so. Who else is a big dog in this team? We've got Jalen Williams. He started off real slow, then he started. So Outliers bringing up rebounds. He's gone under 5.5 rebounds in 8 consecutive games against the Dallas Mavericks. Right. He only had 7 rebound chances in that last game, finished with 5. So for all of you fantasy players, your DFS, underdog, prize picks, sleeper chalks, whatever you call it, this could be a good look. Under 5.5 rebounds for Jalen Williams. He only averages 7.9 potential rebounds, and he needs to get 6. So he needs to get 6 out of 8 potential rebounds. Dallas should also shoot the ball a little bit better here, should negate some of his opportunities. So that could be a good play for all of you fantasy guys out there. Points lines at 20.5. He finished on 18 points in that game. 35 minutes, 6 for 15 from the field, 2 from 5 from deep, 4 from 6 from the line. This is a home game for him after all, so I wouldn't say bet the under, but I didn't like the over that much for Jalen Williams. His assist line's at 4.5. He had 5 assists in the last game. He's actually cashed this in 4 or 5 games against them this year. Potential assists, 7.9 as an average in his last 10. Had 8 potential assists in that last game. 8 potential assists, 5 actual assists. It's juiced to minus 135. I would lean to the over based on the hit rate, but we're not with too much confidence. So I'm not really feeling Jalen Williams. We then have Josh Giddey. So he's rebounded very well against Dallas in the past. His line's at 5.5. Sorry, he hasn't rebounded. He's gone under this in 6 out of 7 games against the Dallas Mavericks. So the under 5.5 is a plus money play. Of his last 7 going under. He had 9 rebound chances in that last game. Only finished on 5. His minutes, he only played 16.9 minutes against them. So the minutes part is the main concern. And I was leaning Josh Giddey PRA unders in that last game because there's no one that he can stay on the court because they would just attack him. So defensively might be limiting his opportunities. I actually took a similar bet for this against the New Orleans Pelicans, and he played a lot of minutes and covered his PRA late. But let's not go back in time and cry over our sins. The under in his rebounds doesn't look like such a bad play. In his last 10, he has gone on his last 10, though. So it might be a real Dallas thing that he struggles in. But also in his last 10, he has got a lot more minutes in a lot of these games. Whereas in the games against Dallas, his minutes were quite low all season. So from this point onwards, minutes are low. Most he played was 23, only had 3 rebound chances. So Josh Giddey, under 8.5, 5.5 rebounds, that could be the wave. His points line's at 8.5. I feel like this is the riskiest one because he's cashed this in 5 out of his last 7. His last 2 games, he's gone under, but 3 of these games were this season. We spoke about his minutes being low, but he's cashed this line before anyway. He only took 4 shots in that last game. I would expect a little bit more from him. So I'm a little bit hesitant to take this. He was 0 from 2 from 3-point land as well. Yeah, so the points, I don't want to bet the points. Assists, the line's at 3.5. Minus 155, though. They shouldn't even be able to offer that. 4 of his last 7 he's covered in against Dallas. He had 5 potential assists in the last game. I'd probably lean to the under, but shit, I ain't too confident in that. Who else have we got in this damn team? Chet Holmgren. Let's check out Chet. So he's gone under his PRA in 5 straight games against the Mavericks. 27 in that last game. So they set the line at 27.5 in this one. Had 19.7 rebounds and 1 assist. Chet played 31 minutes in this game. Looking at his points, 16.5. 19 points. That's the most he scored against Dallas in 5 games. Looking at his attempts, he shot the ball 16 times, which is pretty crazy. 8 from 16. 2 from 5 from deep. Looking at his last 10, he's somewhat inconsistent, isn't he? I expect some regression here. Chet Holmgren's not going to average 19 points in this series. The line's only at 16.5, but I feel like that line is pretty sharp. It's just about where you need it to be. His assist line's at 1.5. 6 out of his last 10, only 1 assist against Dallas, 2 potential assists. I'd probably lean to the under, but I'm not taking anybody under 1.5 anything. Rebounds, his line's at 8.5. 6 of his last 10, and against Dallas, 3 out of his last 5. So his rebound chances were low at 13. I guess the minutes were low as well because of the blowout factor. We saw SGA over-deliver on rebounds, 9 boards. That's not what he normally does. But, yeah, this OKC team's just not a great rebounding team in general. So, yeah, I think he could go over. He really could go under. I don't have any strong feelings around Chet Holmgren, unfortunately. So, yeah, there's nothing more I can add to that. If we have a quick look at the points for these guys off the bench, I want to start with Aaron Wiggins because he's been on fire. Looking at his PRA, he's covered this in 5 of 7 games against Dallas. Strong rebounding and point scoring efforts here. In his last 10, he's covered this PRA in 8 of his last 10 games. So that very last game against Dallas, he played 22 minutes. I guess when the blowout occurred, he was on there a bit more. Shot attempts not scary high. Just the field goal percentage was very good. So I'm not loving that. For A. Wiggins, got Isaiah Joe. He can put up some shots. Look at his PRA. So he's hit this in 3 out of his last 4? No, 6 out of his last 8 games against Dallas. He's covered this line. He had 14.6 minutes again because of that blowout. Could have had more opportunities. So I don't know if he can replicate that. So yeah, I'm not loving what I'm seeing for the rest of these guys, but I think I've done a good job. In about an hour, I've been able to cover 2 games. 2 games, plug my shit all at the same time. This video is coming out to you a lot earlier. Sorry, lost focus on the camera. This video is coming out a lot earlier than they normally would, and that's because I got time off work. So hopefully you guys appreciate the content. Be sure to check out my Winnable. That's where all my final picks are going to be shared. You don't have to bet them. I don't encourage anyone to follow my bets. I strongly encourage you to your own. You can do what I've done. Check out Outlier, 7-day free trial in the video link description below. Check it out. It's going to be a useful tool. You can use it all year round. I already know once the NBA finishes, I'll be using this for MLB. I'll be using it for the WNBA. I'm going to be cashing in, and I'm still going to be creating content for you. So if you want to use Outlier, check out the video link below. I'll catch you fellas in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.